I believe the children are the future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Hey, what's good, people, man? Platinum Billy Dread. Tells upon the bench them. Question, man. Are you childlike or just childish? Are you young at heart or are you an old fogey? Now, I'm not meaning to be disrespectful, but I'm not even talking about age right now, as you might have guessed. But have you ever wondered why we melt and get all cooey when we see babies and young children? Noisy person, let him go past. Or even when we see like pups and cubs and young animals. Even the hardest of hearts begins to melt when they see life in its infancy. Ever wondered why that is? You know what I think that is? It's because there's a part of us that harkens back to when we were like that. Not just that, but there's a part of that of us that is still like that, but it's been covered with layers. And youth and childlike expression represents spontaneity, as they say. It represents freedom, represents joy, all the things that seem to wear away as we get older. Now, why is that? Why does it seem like as we get older we just get grumpy? You get that typical image of a grumpy old person who no longer wants to have fun. What people don't realize is that there's a part of us that never ages. Yeah, the flesh ages, and even the flesh ages at different rates according to what the mindset of the person is, which I'm going to get into in a minute. But there's a part of us that never ages. And when we see young people, children, young animals, that's the part that identifies with that thing we're looking at. And it brings on a sense of joy, but a sense of sorrow, because we feel like we're a million miles away from that. But that's not necessarily the case. So how do we slow the aging process? Because it can be done, believe me. And there's two major ways. One of them is diet, which I'll get into on another post. But another one, which probably plays a bigger part, is a mindset. So how do we slow down the aging process? Haven't you ever seen old people, riding bikes? They might be in their 70s or doing marathons or hiking. Or I remember when I was in Greece on holiday, and there was an elderly lady that was caring for her husband, and they got like their house and the hotels and stuff were on layers of steps that were up hills, and she was scaling up and down every day, carrying stuff and planting and this, that, and I was like, wow, I was amazed. And again, it made me realize that this has nothing to do with, or very little to do with actual age, but the mindset. So how do we slow down the aging process? One thing I would suggest that we do is spend more time around children. Your own children, your nephews and nieces, or if you work with children. I worked with children for the last 20 plus years. And I honestly can say that, hand on heart, it's the best thing I've ever done. I remember one time a person said to me, you should work with children. And I said, no, I'm too quiet. I don't play football. I don't do stuff like that. She said, no, all they want from you is to be yourself. And an ear that will listen. And she said to me that the only problem you have is with the adults, the staff. And I took her advice, and it was right from day one. I've never had any. So I mentioned that to say this, that we must spend more time around children, because for the most part, children are very spontaneous, and they don't have that self-consciousness that comes later to the same degree that adults do. And they will really expose you to parts of yourself that you've took for granted that are you, when in fact you've just covered up with layers of life, of years. And they will challenge you to step outside of that, and you'll probably rebel against it. But then you'll realize that when you do it, whatever that is, being spontaneous, playing games, whatever it is, it will remind you of what you once were and what you actually are. And the more time you spend around children, not necessarily talking, just observing, just being in their presence, just enjoying the moment with them, I guarantee you it will open up that part of you that's been locked forever, that's been locked for years because of life and life experiences. It's the very thing we need to remind ourselves that that part of us that never ages. And the only way we can tap back into that is by being amongst those that are still at that stage of growth. Now, I'm not saying all children are like that, because unfortunately many children have been abused and and hurt, and that, I think that's the greatest crime, me personally, when you haven't given a child time to grow and be children. So there are many damaged children, in the world today. But the nature of a child is such that it laughs. They laugh. They have fun. They be silly. They get dirty in the mud. They run in the rain without no shoes on, or they giggle at things that are funny. The very things that we, as we grow older, we get too stiff and serious about. And what being around children will do, it will break all that seriousness up, break it up, and reveal to you the depth of who you really are. Also, around animals, because animals are very spontaneous. They don't have logic like we do. They don't reason like humans do. And sometimes that's really a setback, because animals just are what they are. And being around animals is a great way to get in touch with the center of yourself that will step outside of all the layers that this society and life and the years of experience have worn down on us. And being around animals is a great thing to open up yourself to the deeper part of you, rather than thinking what you see is what you are. And the last thing I would say is nature. I'm not gonna lie, I don't like walking on grass. And I definitely don't like walking on grass on my feet. And I definitely don't like walking on grass on my feet when it's night time. I just don't like grass. But little things like that, grounding, and being prepared to go out in the rain, once in a while, going for a hike, being where it's quiet, let nature talk to you. All these things that city life and inner city life takes away from you, because you're too busy trying to live. You'd be shocked and amazed at how much it can reveal to you about yourself when you're away from this 9-to-5 madness. Yeah, 9-to-5 madness is what I'll call it. Those three things: children, young animals in general, nature. Now, I'm not talking about, midlife crisis where, you'll see a 65-year-old man wearing leather trousers and a leather jacket and, riding a Harley Davidson. If that's your thing, cool, but I'm not really talking about that. I'm just talking about, in fact, you actually know, you probably know people like that, who they have a very childlike energy, spirit about them, and they're just a joy to be around. It doesn't matter what age they are, and that's what I'm talking about. When you see it, you know it. It's almost like they've aged, but they haven't. And remember, the more we tune into that side of ourselves, that childlike spirit within ourselves, the slower we're going to age, because the less we're going to worry. Because remember, children don't worry to the degree that adults do. They don't stress to the degree that adults do. Even though, unfortunately, things are changing because they're carrying a lot. But in their very nature, they don't worry and stress like we do, because they're too busy being in the moment. And the more we're in that frame of mind, the slower you're going to age, because stress, as we know, is a silent killer that brings lines on your face quicker than anything else. And so the more we're in that childlike frame of mind, the slower we're aging, because we're busy enjoying the moment. Very, very important. One thing I would add also is that if you look at great figures, whether you believe in Jesus or Yeshua or who else? Prophet Muhammad. Even if you bring it down to modern day, Bob Marley, all these great people, they love children. And that's not an accident. They were always kind and tender-hearted around children. that is not an accident, because it's like they knew that, not just because they're the future, but because they were, I call them, they've recently come from heaven, angels. But they knew the language of children. Also, talking of language, if you can't communicate with a child, because a child is all about simplicity, then you know somewhere along the line you've become stale and old. And I don't mean to be disrespectful, but one day you have a conversation with a child. Let them talk, let them talk. Let's see how much patience you have and how much you can communicate to that child without trying to showcase words, but just simplicity. And you'll be amazed at how much they can teach you and how much you learn about yourself. Trust me though, those three things, being around children, being around animals, and being around nature, I guarantee you, let me know how it goes, because you will find that things will change. And as things change on the inside, obviously things will change on the outside. And that would 100% slow down the aging process, trust me on that one. We'll go into the other one, diet on another post. But for now, that's it, man. And don't forget, hit the like button, subscribe or something, if you want to hear more words of inspiration from the Platinum Bearded Dread. Tales upon the bench there. Check, man.